Okay, good afternoon to everybody again. It's 3 minutes past the hour, so we're all ready to get started. So again, a huge thank you to you guys for turning up in your huge numbers as you do to these daily webinars. I'm absolutely delighted to have Christopher Watkin along with me today to talk about the power of social media and the use of video in the property industry. The duration of the webinar this afternoon will be around 40 to 45 minutes. Obviously, just depends on how fast we get through the questions that I'm posing to Chris, but obviously also as well how many questions we can get in and obviously get through before we go to the allotted time. So again, for the guys who've been in these webinars before, this is the usual house rules, just regard questions. All webinar attendees are muted. This is obviously just to avoid any background noise and distractions, barking dogs, screaming kids, and the other half, of course. Please use the questions option on the GoToWebinar interface control panel. I will try to answer all questions at the end of the presentation, and obviously during, of course, which I encourage you to ask to Chris. But please do not click on the leave webinar if you want a direct answer from myself on the question. Just to let you know, any question that do get posed to Chris, I will be sending to him. So obviously, if there's anything pertinent you want to ask him, again, do that, and I'll make sure he gets the question. You may just need to click on the orange expand button on the GoToWebinar control panel to open up the questions option, by the way, so you can type in your question. So again, today's agenda's quite loose in some ways, which is lovely. So it's a Q&A with Christopher Watkin. There's 8 key questions which I'll be asking Chris today. We'll then obviously be taking your questions, and then we've just got a today poll question as well. Okay, this man needs no introduction at all. And if Elvis Presley is the king of rock and roll, then this gentleman is certainly the king of video in our industry. I will be sending out the links to Chris's YouTube channel, which I'm sure you've all been on before, and of course his website. But I'm going to pass over, I'm going to control the webinar and obviously pose the questions to Chris today. So I'm just going to see if I can get Chris on screen. Fortunately for you guys, I won't be on screen today. I did a test of this earlier, and my connection unfortunately kept going out. So a huge thank you to Vodafone for that. You won't be seeing my mug till at least another 24 hours time. So I'm just going to see if I can get Chris on the screen for you guys here. Okay.
I don't think you're going to get me on screen. Otherwise, I'll have to switch my computer off, switch it back on again.
Right. No worry. Okay, so we're doing it in audio only for now. Okie dokie. Right, so we'll fire away. So, Chris, to you again, a huge thank you for joining us this afternoon. Quick question to you will be: what have you picked up in the last 4 to 5 weeks, which has helped estate agents work more effectively in this current climate we're all in on lockdown? And can you share any great stories with the huge audience we have today, so we can help them really and share some great stories?
Well, firstly, David, thank you very much for inviting me on today. And also, I'd like to thank all the agents that have taken time out of their busy days to listen in. And I hope I can give you some valuable content which will help you in your agencies either enjoy your job more, get yourself more business, or just anything that you want. And please, if I would rather actually rattle through these these questions of David's in half an hour and actually have some good quality question and answers at the end, which are more relevant. But we'll see how we get on. David, will people be able to actually ask questions, on the audio if they ask? Will you be able to bring
Absolutely.
those on?
Yeah, indeed. I am poised and ready to take all of your questions as usual. So lovely. Please, if you've got anything to ask Chris, type away. And yeah, well, as you said,
let's do those at the end, and we'll take it from there. Okay, that's 4 or 5 weeks. I'm in a lucky position that I have nearly 100 estate and letting agent clients who I talk to on a regular basis. A lot of them have become friends. And I also I'm lucky enough to have one of the largest Facebook groups of letting and estate agents with 2,500 of them in the Landlord and Vendor Farming Club Facebook site. And I think, I don't know about you, but for the first week or so before they shut us all down, it was all very much a case of, oh, don't worry about it, it'll be all right. I can remember sitting in my dining room with my father-in-law and saying, I don't know what all this fuss is about. And then all of a sudden, I don't know about you, David, but it kind of hit me when Boris came on and said, you're all locked down from tonight. How did it affect you?
Yeah, I was absolutely nuts. I mean, as you say, you know, I think we were all going about our usual business, thinking, oh, this will pass, and this will be probably something which, you know, might just affect the Italians. And as you say, you know, suddenly within 2 or 3 days, now our worlds were just turned upside down. I mean, it was just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's no one could be prepared for what had happened.
And interestingly, there was unfortunately, I had a couple of phone calls from a couple of my clients, and you could tell by their voice that they were absolutely, I'm going to use technical estate agency language here, shit scared. The fear in their voice was just, it actually took tingles down your spine. And yeah, and there was that week of helplessness of what fucking hell are we doing here and what's happening. And then that's how the kind of last couple of weeks leveled out, because what people are telling me on the letting agent side is that the vast majority of tenants are paying their rent. The vast majority of property pipeline sales are remaining together. And I've heard of very few stories of people trying to gazunder. And those stories that I have heard of gazundering, the vendors have put their feet in the sand and say, no, that's the price. And in fact, most people have actually ended up, you know, carrying on paying. I know we've had the issues with regard to virtual viewings and things like that. Good news, and again, I mean, that's something that we could probably talk about a little bit later in terms of whether that's right or wrong. But the stories of landlords genuinely helping out their tenants, the stories of agents building Facebook groups and sharing what the best times are to go shopping and sharing the best, you know, do you need shopping picking up, has been truly heartwarming. And I think the best stories I can give you are just basically the human stories. You know, let's be frank, we as an industry are not particularly like that much. And this is an opportunity to potentially reset. And as long as you're going from a place of love and you're not trying to do it, you're doing it genuinely, you could raise, using the power of social media, as long as you're genuine, you could use this as an opportunity. Putting aside the health issue, and I must put aside the health issue. I mean, my father-in-law has got pretty bad cancer, and if he gets it, he's a goner. But putting the health side an issue, you know, yes, there was those prats at the start buying hundreds of loo rolls, but people are now actually taking the time of day to say hello to each other and ask how are you doing. And I'm actually talking to more people now than I did before. So that's the stories that I'm hearing, the human stories. But to answer your first question, what have you picked up in the last 4 weeks to help more effectively? I mean, who'd have thought that we could actually run an agency remotely from our own homes? Who would have thought that we could actually talk to each other on Zoom and things like that? It's been an absolute eye-opener.
Yeah.
How are you coping working from home?
Yeah,
sorry,
I mean,
David. I turn into interviewer mode at 2 seconds.
Yeah, please don't worry. No. I mean, I've been pretty used to working from home for the last few years anyway. So, I mean, I was pretty used to it anyway. But I mean, certainly the guys there, you know, that work in the office have absolutely missed that day-to-day of getting up, putting the makeup on, not myself, by the way, and going to the office and, you know, just having a normal, you know, and it was the first couple of weeks were quite eerie, really. And Chris, you're right, you know, like myself, you know, I speak to a lot of agents on a daily basis, and a lot of them were genuinely scared. You know, nobody knew what was going to be happening, you know, and as you say, I think I agree with you completely. In the last 2 weeks, I think things have plateaued out. People are thinking a lot more laterally now. about, you know, looking at, you know, the end of lockdown.
This is the new normal, isn't
I think that's a positive thing. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Yep. So next question: do you think COVID-19 will change fundamentally how estate and letting agents work in the UK now? Obviously, once lockdown has been lifted. So if that's yes, why and how do you think that might be the way, and what things do you think will change?
I know we're going to be talking about this later, but fundamentally, especially in a state agency, I believe that the model is broken. And the reason I believe that is broken, and again, this is going to be touching on some of the other questions later, is in a state agency, everybody looks to Australia and America as the panacea where they charge lots of money, don't they? And everybody aspires to be an estate agent. Whilst if you ask 100 estate agents in the UK, no one ever wanted to be an estate agent. They kind of fell into it. I fell into it. I didn't want to be an estate agent. And I think that there are certain things that I put the responsibility at the door of. And the first one is the portals. The second one is the CRMs. And the third one is the way that we work as estate agents and the way we split our jobs up. And I believe that the third one is actually the biggest, the most important. So let's look at the portals just for argument's sake, just to start with. And again, I'm neither pro nor anti Rightmove or anti portal. I'm being devil's advocate and interviewing both sides, which is damn good fun to do. And it's also fun because I don't actually have an interest in which portal wins and which one loses and which one new one comes along. But fundamentally, we have the job of the portal is to put the property in front of the punter, i.e. to find a buyer for it or to find a tenant for it. That all the portal was a replacement for the newspaper. The issue is that we estate agents see the portal to also to try and attract landlords and vendors. But that's not the job of the portal. We need to be doing other stuff to attract those. But because we pay our bills to the portal, we think that that's the job of the portal. And until agents realise that all the portal's job is to put the property in front of the punter, they'll actually realise that portal technology is 20 years old. And they don't actually have to have a portal. I mean, it's interesting, is that it beats me with agents that they're running with their heart saying, oh, Rightmove this, they're rubbish, they're awful. But when you actually turn around to them, actually say, right, all of your lets and all of your sales, how many of them came from which portal? And I probably can count on one hand the number of agents I've asked that to that actually say, yes, 26% have come from this portal and X% have come from that portal. I think people are letting their hearts run their heads. And if you actually took the time and the effort to actually look, I was interested. I was talking to Darren Cope from Derby, great letting, big in the game. And he actually looked and said that Rightmove was damn good value for money. But he actually looked at his leads and worked that one out. But most agents don't do that. So unless you actually know where your leads are coming from, how can you judge? I mean, so what that they earn 75% profit? That's not the point. The point is, do they offer you good value for money? And most people don't know that. The second one is the CRMs, David, is that I know I don't look it, but I'm in my late 40s. And when I were a lad as an estate agent, I used to match people by using a hotbox.
Yeah, talking about Chris. Yeah, going back to the old school of hotboxes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And for anyone who's under the age of 40, a hotbox was basically a perspex box with written cards in, and your valuer used to come in and say, I've got this property for sale. And, you know, if someone was looking for a 4-bedroom detached house, but you had a massive 3-bed and the valuer described it in the morning meeting, you'd say, do you know, I know that couple. They're looking for a 4-bed. They haven't got 3 kids. They've only got 1 kid. They just want the space. I think that'd be ideal. But in a CRM system, it's based on your postcode, bedrooms and price. And if it don't match, you don't get matched. See, one of the huge tips I would say to everyone is that why do negs actually go and archive people when you're probably sitting on most of your buyers and sellers? Get them out and start chucking great content at them, which we'll talk about in a second. But here's the killer one. The bit which I just can't is that in the estate agency game, who do we value most, the valuer or the negotiator, David?
Well,
who gets paid more?
Well, I think if I was an owner of an agency, I think certainly the valuer. But you're that, Chris?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say the valuer, but again, I might be off kilter
Yeah,
there.
valuers get paid more. Now, isn't it interesting that when I asked the question of business owners, out of the last 53 valuations that your valuer did, how many of that valuer did they actually produce themselves?
Mm.
And what you actually find out is in Australia, the job of the estate agent is, number one, to generate all their own business, number two, then to go to the free valuation to convert it, then put it on the market, then do all the viewings themselves, every viewing, God forbid let the homeowner near the viewing, and then negotiate the offer. What's here, in the UK, we split the job up. We don't know where the valuation comes from, but it arrives anyway. We then send the shiny suit valuer who goes to the property, who uses their people skills to persuade someone to use them, because let's be honest, all homeowners do is pick the one that they like the most. And then the valuer then goes into witness protection, and the property gets passed over to a negotiator. We let the worst person in the world to do the viewings, which is the homeowner, and then when the offer comes in, Floss, who's the 22-year-old YTS person, negotiates on, in London, £1 million deals, £2 million deals, and we're talking 100 grands. Surely, if you look at the Australian model, one person is accountable all the way through. Whilst in the UK, we have split it back. We've split the component parts down for the ease of ourselves. Yet what that's actually done is dumbed down the state agency.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that, Chris. I'm going to crack on to 20 minutes in now.
Yeah.
So, do you think that this actually spells the end of the high street agents, with the agents effectively now working from home as online agents without an office presence? It's something I got posed to by an agent in Kensington a couple of weeks ago. I was speaking with. But it was a really interesting point. What are your thoughts?
I think where you trade from is totally irrelevant. I think you need to be based in the locality. Let's bring up Darren Cope again. He moved from some expensive high street offices into like a big Georgian house that had been converted into offices, a bit like where a solicitor's or an accountant's would be based from. And he had no detriment to his business whatsoever. I still think you need some form of presence within the town, especially with the lettings department. But whether you should actually have a piece of glass on the high street next to KFC and Costa, what I would say to people is this: if I was setting up my own agency today, I certainly wouldn't have a high street location. But if I do have a high street location, I would be using it in a different way. Not putting a bunch of Mardi negotiators in a row of offices. I'd be making it as a community hub, bringing people together, setting it up for like talks and things like that. I've actually seen one agent in Hertfordshire who'd actually put a coffee shop at the front and the office was at the back. Isn't it interesting that they were really successful?
Wow, that actually happened with one in rugby as well, actually, Chris. And I'm probably going back 2 or 3 years. I don't think I'm actually there anymore. So they're not the best example there, but as you say, I think it will certainly force agents to think about changing.
I mean, because if you think about it, we're in such a unique position on the high street that we are on every high street, but it's not as if we're selling retail stuff. So we could become the hub of the community.
Absolutely. So, in your opinion, Chris, what is the biggest challenge for agents today and for the next 6 months? And then we'll get on to obviously talking about video and social media from this. I know a couple of you have mentioned obviously when we're going to be talking about that. So, but for today and for the next 6 months, what do you believe will be the biggest challenge for the people, sitting in the room today?
Okay, so my business, the way I earn money is not through videos, because I don't charge anyone to interview them. I just do it for fun because I like it. I'm actually like a property market journalist. I write articles about property markets around the UK, and agents pay me to write them articles a bit for their town.
Yeah.
And basically what I've done is I've looked at all the reports that everyone has written, the Savills, the Knight Franks of this world, the economists, the Bank of England. And the bottom line is that the number of transactions this year are going to be at least 37% lower, if not more. Mm-hmm. And house prices are irrelevant to estate agents. If house prices drop, that's totally irrelevant. Okay. the biggest, there is some relevancy there, but it shouldn't make any difference. The biggest relevance is that there's 37% less transactions. That means 37% less fees.
Mm.
And my biggest fear is that their pipeline in Q3, Q4. That's the massive one. That's the elephant in the room that no one is addressing.
Yeah, I'd
You
agree.
might think you're safe with with your furloughing of the staff, but you're going back in with a pipeline that's had nothing put in it for 2 or 3 months.
Absolutely, I think it's certainly going to hurt agents move. It's not going to be the July. It might be the September, October, November effect. In fairness, Chris. So
I mean, one thing that's really caught my eye, which is both the National Association of Estate Agents Property Mark, and there's a private version of it with Gazelle, and I'm not paid for them to do that, but I know they do it, is one huge thing I think estate agents could and should be doing is getting their properties sale ready when the property comes on the market. You see, both Gazelle and Property Mark's own sales protocol, where they get the vendor to get all the paperwork in order whilst the property is being marketed. So when they do find a buyer, the sales going down from an average of 19 weeks, which is the average in the UK, to 6 to 8 weeks. So what agents should be doing probably now is, why don't they, if they're a member of Property Mark, National Association of Estate Agents, please download the sales protocol thing, and if they're not a member of National Association, speak with the guys at Kazan and said, I'm not being paid to say that or any incentive. Getting the property sale ready whilst the property is on the market means that when you do find a buyer, you'll get your money quicker, which at the end of the day, if you can get your money in 6 to 8 weeks as opposed to 19 weeks, that'll go a long way to plug that gap in Q3, Q4.
Absolutely. We've got a webinar tomorrow exactly on the revenue streams for the next 6 months and helping. Chris, and just I have picked up on that. I know that the guys at Property Mark are working with the likes of the portals and repeat on that. So yeah, I mean, it's absolutely got legs. And as you say, I mean, the average time from completion from exchange to completion, of course, in some areas, 16 or 17 weeks, it is, it's absolutely something we need to be looking at. So, how do you think, obviously you've mentioned your Facebook group, again, you've got a very, very large audience there you can speak with. But how do you think that will play a part in what I would call the new norm, with agents looking at marketing platforms, considering reducing so many portals and newspapers and what have you? Because, of course, I think in some ways I've been forced to do that, and there's probably time on their hands for the first time in quite a few years to actually have a sit down and think, what do you think social media will do over this time? Practical advice give to the team.
A lot of people, especially the estate agents in their 50s and 60s, saying, I don't get social media. All social media is just a communication platform, just like telephone is, just like webinar is what we're doing now, just like video or TV or radio. It's just a way to communicate. It just happens to be on a mobile phone. And what amazes me with estate agents is that they don't get social media. You've got to treat communicating on social media the way you would communicate to a human being. And where most estate agents go wrong with their social media is, would you walk up to somebody in the street saying, do you want a free valuation? Do you want a free valuation? Do you want a free valuation? Do you want to buy this house? Look how wonderful I am. Look at my market share graph. It's so big. My market share is so big, it's unbelievable. Look what, do you want to buy a house? And all of a sudden, that's what most people's social media output is. You see, roll the clock back 20 years, and if your job as a marketing person, all marketing is trying to persuade somebody to do something, right? That's what marketing is. And the way you need to do that is to communicate that. And the power of social media is just a platform to communicate that message. Now, if you roll the clock back 20 years, the only way you could communicate with thousands of people in one go was if you had deep pockets, because the only way you could communicate with people in your town was through the local rag. Now, you don't actually have to have £1,000 a week or £300 or £400 a week to put an advert in the newspaper, because you can talk to thousands of people like we are now, totally for free, using the power of social media. But now the variable to success is, what content do you put out there that's going to make people attracted to you? Because people use the phrase attraction agent. But if you want to be attractive, the last thing you want to be doing is trying to sell stuff to people, because human beings don't like to be sold to. And the advice I would give to any agents out there is, you are the gatekeepers to the second most interesting subject in the world to the British, and that's the property market, the first being the weather. Yet all you do, you're just like that bloke at the party that talks about themselves all night. You know, hi, look at me, I'm brilliant. Look at me, I'm marvelous. Look at me, I'm brilliant. Look what I earn, I'm brilliant, I'm marvelous. That's all your marketing is doing. You're talking about yourself, and no one cares about you. People only care about themselves. So if you want people to be attracted to you as an agent, you have to be attractive. What you have to work out is what's attractive to homeowners and landlords in your town. Now, David, let me ask you a question. Tonight, if there was a brand new for sale board on your street,
yep,
that wasn't there that morning, what would you do? In fact, what would everybody do?
I would probably, as a homeowner, Chris, go on the Rightmove app and see how much it's on for, to see what my current home value would be compared to it, really. That's my honest.
Okay, and do you think you're pretty typical of most people?
I would possibly say so.
Would you do the same if the brand new for sale board was half a mile down the road?
No, probably not.
Probably not. So would it be fair to say that, I would say that most people would, before they got out the car, would go onto Rightmove or whatever at Zoopla to see what it's on the market for? To see why? Some people say because it's nosiness, but really it's to find out what that one's worth, so it has a comparison to what theirs is worth.
Totally selfish. Yeah, I mean, it's what's it for me there, by the way. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if you want, so would it be fair to say, whereabouts do you live, David?
I live in Redditch, which is south of Birmingham, which I'm sure all the people know from my accent.
Right. Just off the M42.
That's me.
Right. So would it be fair to say that you're interested in the Redditch property market on what and how it reflects on what's happening to your property in Redditch? But yeah.
Well, I would say probably a smaller part of Redditch living called Headless Cross. That's got more interest of me.
Of course you do, because the closer I get to you as a punter, the more interesting and relevant I'm going to be.
Absolutely.
So what I'm suggesting people do is, if you want to attract people to you, you have to be attractive. So if you want vendors and landlords to be attracted to you, what you could do is, did you say your area is called Headless Cross, did you say?
Headless Cross, yes. It's a rather strange little place. Quite a quaint little place.
So what you could do is you could join the Headless Cross Facebook group, because I bet you there is one. It could be based on the primary school. It could be, yeah. So why don't you go to Rightmove, click on the word house prices and type in the word Headless Cross and press return, and it gives you about 2 paragraphs of information. And what you could then do is take your mobile phone and your tripod and go and stand on the village green at Headless Cross and give a monthly update at what's happening in the Headless Cross property market.
Simple stuff. Absolutely. I do know, I mean, the agents I've worked with over the years, Chris, I know Sean Newman, I dealt with Sean for many years. A lot of his guys I've seen on LinkedIn are doing a lot of similar things. There's a lovely piece of camera I picked up earlier on Facebook. I won't embarrass the man, I will actually. Jeremy McGinn, he's a local agent in the Warwickshire area. I'm going to be showcasing that video on the webinar tomorrow morning. I've seen some great stuff, Chris, but as you say, it's about thinking outside that proverbial box.
And if anyone wants to know how to do that training, take a pen and paper now. You go to my YouTube channel. So you just type in the word Christopher Watkin. You go to my YouTube channel. When you're on my YouTube channel, you click on the word playlists. Now there's about 70 playlists on there, but one of them says how to use video in your lettings and estate agency. You click on that, there's about 34 videos in that, and 2 of them tell you how to do local property market reports on your video. And all you need is a mobile phone, a tripod, and a microphone.
Super stuff. That's great, Chris. Thank you. Great practical advice there for everyone. That's awesome. So, do you have any top tips for any budding video stars out there who would like to start using video more as part of their marketing mix? You've probably preempted that with obviously have a take, and take a look at your YouTube channel. Any other practical advice you can give to the guys on the webinar this afternoon?
The biggest elephant in the room is actually doing video in the first place, because all of us have this fear that we don't want to look silly or stupid or prattish. I've taught hundreds of estate agents how to do video, because we used to do video courses. Can't do them anymore, unfortunately. Although interestingly, the lads are actually doing an online course. Chris and Matt, some of them, you might know them. That's coming out next week if anyone wants to do a one-day course online. But that's aside the point. Coming back to this, it's getting over your fear of doing doing your video, because most people who can get over that fear win so big. It's just actually having the balls to do it. And I mean, let's assume, putting aside the fear, because I literally could be here for hours talking about that, and we haven't got the time. But if you go on that link I just sent you, the one I've described, there's actually some videos on how to get over your fear and why you have that fear. Okay.
I think there is that fear factor. I was speaking with an agent, and again, Chris, with the webinars I've been doing, about video, and again, I think it certainly is that as well. I mean, I've seen some absolutely fantastic videos over the years I've dealt with these. I've seen some pretty poor ones, but you know what? The ones that are genuine, and again, getting over the fear of doing a piece to camera. I mean, the guys on the daily webinars will know Jacob still did a fantastic one for us the other day. I've referenced the one I picked up today with Jeremy McGinn. People do engage more with the video than they would do on social media. A graph and what have you. Rather talk about that than just show it in that sense. So, Chris, what is the best platform for video, and what program do you actually use? Because it sounds like it could be expensive. I'm sure it's not, by the way, but I want to ask the question.
Okay, so one's editing and one's where you should be putting it. So which one do you want to do first?
We'll just say the one producing it, and again, I've got.
Right, let's do editing, and then where we're going to put it in. Right, if you do a video on an iPhone or an Android, you can actually edit crop the start and the end in about 30 seconds.
Wow.
Okay, so the best thing you can do is set your tripod up. No selfies. Always a tripod, and just press record, wait a couple of seconds, and then do your bit, and then at the end wait 2 seconds, press the word stop, and then you just pinch it in, and there's your perfect video. You don't need logos or text on it. If you do want to put photos and logos and text, then if you've got Apple computers, there's iMovie, which allows you to do that. And if you want something a little bit fancier, Adobe Rush, which is 10 quid a month. That's very, very good. Amazing.
Brilliant. Okay, so for people who haven't got Apple Macs, Chris, so I work on
that's Adobe Rush. Adobe Rush.
So Adobe Rush. Okay, so for the guys who haven't got Apple Macs even,
then iMovie. Now, in terms of where you should put your videos, this is really, really important. Okay, and this is for any video. You've got to remember that YouTube and Facebook are competitors, and therefore you should hardly ever, if you can get away with it, sometimes you have to, upload a YouTube link to Facebook.
Interesting. Okay.
What you should do to Facebook and LinkedIn is physically upload the actual video, because LinkedIn will like you because if you put a YouTube link on it, not saying this all the time, but most of the time, you should physically upload the video. And because if you upload a YouTube link onto LinkedIn or Facebook, you have the chance of then leaving Facebook or LinkedIn to go to YouTube to watch another video. And Facebook or LinkedIn don't want to do that because they're earning money whilst you're on their platform. Hence why they don't publish your post on people's news feeds as much. So therefore, this is the way I do it. I physically upload the video to each platform, Facebook and LinkedIn, and then at the same time, I also upload it to YouTube, but I don't share the YouTube link. I just use YouTube and build a library of videos. I make the videos look good in a nice channel, which basically sets it all out with a nice header at the top and puts them into different sections and different playlists, which you can do in literally 10 minutes. And there's this new website called GOOGLE, and you just type that into, and it comes, it's a new great website, it's called Google. And you type in, how do I set up a YouTube channel? And it just basically says, right, you put a header here, you put your playlist here. So if you go to a YouTube channel, it does look pretty as opposed to just like 4 videos. And the advantage to that is in 12 or 18 months time, you'll have like a Netflix of videos. And that's when you can start pushing out your YouTube channel as, look at all these beautiful videos that I've done. I'm almost a TV channel and people go, wow. So that's what you do. YouTube for the future to make it look like Netflix. Works a treat.
Awesome stuff. There's actually a tip, a briefly market customer I'm speaking with this week, called Benjamin Stevens, doing something called North London TV. And again, obviously that's a YouTube channel which they've launched. Again, really great example. Where I am in the Midlands, the guys Andrew Grant do a very, very good job of their YouTube channel. So again, genuinely worth having. Chris, just a quick question. Sorry, just a quick question on the tripod. So I like to give practical advice. Where can agents pick up tripods from? You know, we're not talking Jessups, you know, a £200 job. I mean, can you get them off eBay and Amazon? Are they expensive?
Okay, Amazon, just make sure it's 30, 40 quid. So it's half decent. Make sure that you always, it goes to the height of your eyes. Okay. You'll also need a little adapter which screws it. It's called a mobile phone tripod adapter, which is 2 or 3 quid, which you'll screw into the bottom of the tripod. You can slip your phone in, and you're also going to need a decent microphone. Okay, especially if you're outside. So the one I recommend is the firm's called Rode, RODE, and the name of the microphone's Video Mic. That's Video MIC, and then it's called a Me, as in ME. Now there's a version for the iPhone and there's a version for an Android. The iPhone one actually has a direct lightning conductor which plugs into the bottom of your phone, and the Android one has a 3.5-inch jack. Remember, it comes with like a dead fluffy cat. Make sure you must always put that on when you're filming outside, even if it's not windy. It's very important.
Awesome.
Just interestingly, interesting you mentioned Steve Wayne. That's an idea which I gave to him 2 years ago, 18 months ago, called the Digital Mayor, where he actually produces a TV show in his locality. And on that link that I've mentioned earlier on, I've got 6 or 7 videos of that. We've actually had a client of mine in Lincolnshire who had 15% of his town every single week watch his Facebook show without being prompted.
That's not bad, is it? Oh, you say, you guys could become really quite big stars overnight. Again, it's getting over that fear, isn't it, Chris? Doing it for the first time. Absolutely. No, for the guys that are on the webinar, as part of the follow-up notes, what I'll do, I will send links to the idea of the products there, which Chris has very kindly recommended. So that will be as part of the follow-up. Okay, so you guys have been putting in your questions in droves. So we're at 42 minutes past the hour now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick some of the best ones for Chris to answer. So great question here, Chris, from Robert Cole. What's the maximum length of video to ensure the most engagement?
There is no maximum length. It's just got to be a bloody good video in the first place.
Okay.
I mean, some of my best viewed videos are over 40 minutes long.
Wow.
Okay. The important thing with videos is not how long it is, it's what you're actually saying. And this is the killer bit, is the 2 questions you must always ask yourself is, who's the video for? And am I trying to get something or give something? Now, here's a tip for you. If you are standing outside one of your own properties that you're trying to sell or rent, is that a video that you're trying to get or give, David?
Well, I'm taking it you're looking at getting a tenant if you're doing a video.
Okay, so you are standing outside one of your own properties that you will earn money from if you let it.
Yeah.
Is your motivation of standing outside that house to try and get something or give something?
Well, I'd certainly like to get a tenant, but I'd like to give them the opportunity to have a look around the property.
Come on.
An awkward
That's
way
a
of
bit
answering it there, Chris. Am I giving you a hard time there?
You're not giving me a hard time. You're doing it to try and get something, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course.
Okay, there's not a problem with that. Totally not a problem with it. As long as you address that and do the video in the right sort of way. So if anyone's got a pen or paper, please write this down, because this is the method of how you do videos of properties that you're trying to sell or rent without even trying to sell it. And I can tell you here and now, even though it is a purely sales video, people will love you for them. How's this? So basically there's there's 3.5 stages. I'm going to give you the stages in bullet point, and then I'm just going to expand on them very slightly. Bullet point 1 is if you are a. So if you are a. Bullet point 2 is the facts and figures. Bullet point 3 is I love it because. Bullet point 3, point A, 3.5 is my name is. You see, people don't like other people's opinion being forced on them, and that is what people do when they try and sell something to them. So what you do is you split up the emotion and the logic of the video, and this is where the magic happens. So I'm going to quickly go through it once, and then I'm going to break it down into its sections, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm standing outside a 2-bedroom terraced house, and it's ideal for, and I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell it to a first-time buyer or a landlord. So here we go. If you are a Grantham buy-to-let landlord or a Grantham first-time buyer looking for a decent 2-bedroom terrace, have I got something interesting for you? I've just put this property on the market on Victoria Street for £100,000. It's a 2-bedroom terrace with lounge, dining room, kitchen, double glazing, gas central heating, 2 double bedrooms upstairs, bathroom, and a garden at the back. I love this house because it's got open views at the back. Tesco's is just around the corner. It will sell well, and if you're a landlord, you'll get a tenant really quickly at £500 a month. It'll give you a yield of 6.4%. My name's Chris Watkin from Chris Watkin Estate Agents. If you need any more information, give me a call. So what I've done there is, number one, if you are you address the person you're talking to. Do not waste the first 5 seconds introducing yourself. The only person that cares about that is you and your mum. I've swiftly moved on to facts and figures, where I've actually just done a verbal walkthrough of the house. I have noticed I never used any emotional words. I didn't use the word beautiful, large, wonderful, marvelous. I was just pure facts. I was going on logic mode. Please do not use any descriptive words that could be misconstrued if you're trying to sell it. It's just got to be pure facts. A 2-bedroom terrace. It's on the market for 100 grand. It's got a lounge, dining room, kitchen. Just bullet point them through. All right, bang, 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 and then you're leaving the emotion to the end. Now, if you express personal emotion, no one's got any comeback on you, because you're not trying to impose your thoughts on someone else. You're just saying, I love it because. And by doing that, you'll have no negative feedback. No one will be slagging you off, because they've got nothing to slag you off about. And then at the end, you're just saying, my name's Chris Watkin. If you need any more information, give me a call. And you do that, and you will win so big.
That's a really interesting one, that, Chris. I mean, again, from the videos I certainly see on a daily basis on LinkedIn and on Facebook, and agents who are classed as friends, that's very, very, very interesting stuff. As you say, it's certainly not about the agent, and as you say, the amount of power words I hear in descriptions of properties. Nearly every property I've seen in Coventry is a rare opportunity at the moment, which is quite interesting. Chris, I've got another question which is coming here, which is quite an interesting one. Thanks for this, Kirsty Keaton. How can you start doing a video in these strange times, and what topic would you start with, given how sensitive people are at the moment? Really good question, Kirsty. Thanks for that. Chris, what do you think?
I think at this moment in time, in the probably next month or so, you actually doing videos of properties that you're trying to sell or rent, quite simply, is in poor taste. I have seen some quite interesting ones. So Kirsty, I know your memory says, well, your Benton's in Melton Mowbray. I'm going off memory there. I've seen some guys do some quite turn the sensitivity round by saying, hi, if you are a Hounslow tenant looking for a two-bedroom apartment and you need to move really quickly because of your personal situation, I'm going to give you a virtual viewing of this property in the next 30 to 40 seconds. If you want to do more of a detailed Zoom call where we do it for 5 or 10 minutes, then I'll tell you about it at the end of the video. You then do the video recorded walking around, and then at the end we can say, I can appreciate a lot of you can't move at the moment, but if you just simply have to move because you're moving out and there's obviously issues with COVID, then give me a call and we'll do a more of a one-to-one Zoom call. So that's how you can do your business end. But Kirsty, to answer your questions, I think you just need to be at the heart of the community. You need to be, I think we're done with, I can't be doing with these videos, it's business as usual. I mean, interestingly, I'm suggesting to my clients that they actually interview on Zoom people from their local community and tell people why they love their community. Because if you think about it, if you're based in Melton Mowbray, Kirsty, why don't you actually interview people on Zoom from the Melton Mowbray area and why they love their area so much? Therefore, because remember, people don't remember what you said to them a year ago, but they remember how you made them feel. And if you are interviewing people about why they love their area, what makes them special, then in 6-12 months time when property comes up, they'll remember how you made them feel. So that's one big thing I've been looking at.
Super stuff. Very conscious on time, so I'm just going to do the last question for Chris. So, and again, a huge thanks to Chris for his time this afternoon. Really genuinely appreciate it. Great stuff.
This will put a smile on your face. This will put a smile on your face. Joanne made some homemade scones and some mackerel pate. And she said, I just love a glass of rosé. I said, I'm gagging for something like that. And she's, oh no, best not. Can't drink during the day. And it was only afterwards I realised that I was on the webinar an hour later. I said, thank God I didn't drink that because I would have been on top.
This is
easy to have a drink.
Yeah, I'll steer away from the alcohol conversation. I did actually. There's a really interesting one again for the people on the webinars before. I was sitting with a gentleman. Took a picture of his desk workplace at home with bottles of beer all around there. I mean, it's. I think people are getting through as they can at the moment. Last question here for you, Chris. Again, a huge thank you again. What about if you have a property tour, a video on Vimeo?
Well, Vimeo is just another form of YouTube. It's just another platform to host videos. I don't have a strong view on either.
Can you upload Vimeo videos to YouTube? That's what Felicity Blair has asked.
Well, it's kind of like no, because all Vimeo is just another version of YouTube. It's so if you wanted to put it on, all you're doing is uploading it from your computer and putting it onto another website that people can view it. So if you're on Vimeo, all you have to do is give out the Vimeo web address of the video you've uploaded, and it's there. If you then want to copy it onto YouTube, back onto YouTube, you'd have to download it and re-upload it to YouTube. But it's kind of like doubling up the work.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. Well, Chris, what I'll do again, a huge thank you to you again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to source the links. A few of you have asked about links for tripods and what have you. So I'll have a quick look on Amazon afterwards, and I'll pop you over those links in the follow-up email, which I'll send before 7 o'clock tonight. Again, absolutely hats off, Chris, to you. It's been some great practical stuff there. I thank you for asking all the questions as well to the guys that have attended. So this is, I will send the slides out afterwards. I've just got a link to Chris's YouTube channel, his website. I'll also put the Chris's Facebook group as well on the follow-up email. So I'll do a poll for this, but again, just because where we are with the time, I'm going to skip that. But again, if you guys do need any help with video marketing, use the questions panel. Myself, Chris will be in touch. We will be sharing the feedback we're getting from the webinar this afternoon. So the last thing from me will be, I'm holding a webinar tomorrow morning. I've mentioned it just before. It's 11 o'clock. It's about generating revenue for the next 6 months from your marketing. So it's a slightly earlier time tomorrow, not the usual 3 o'clock slot. That's 11 o'clock. Final thank you to Chris. Really great stuff. Thank you ever so much. Really personally appreciate it. Thank you to everybody that has attended this afternoon. I'm going to keep the webinar open for about another quarter of an hour, just so I can answer back personally to your questions that you've posed. If there's anything where you've asked for Chris's details, I will pass them on to him later on tonight. So again, huge thank you to Chris, huge thank you to you guys. Hope it's been helpful, and I look forward to speaking with you all soon. Take care of yourselves all now.